hate to break it down to you guys this way, but you do have to eventually go out there and spend a little bit of money. Now you can buy these things inexpensively, but you should invest in a V cutter, a punch, and a guillotine cutter. One thing I would recommend on a guillotine cutter is make sure that's double bladed cutter so you get nice precise cuts, so therefore it doesn't crack the cigar as you're making a cut. And therefore you're gonna have to play around and try to see what fits you the best. Sometimes I'll even use my thumbnail to just kind of take off the cap of a cigar. Other than that, this is an area where you do have to do a little bit of your own practice and see what works for you. And before I go on this part of it, I will tell you this: do not go out as a first timer and spend money on a cigar cutter such as this, which has carbon fiber skin on it, that runs you $150. Now, if you're a big baller, you can do whatever you like. But if you are learning how to cut a cigar, again, just make it simple. If this is a cigar, just cut off the tip of it just by a little bit.
It's your cigar, cut it however the hell you want. That being said, all the methods do have some inherent pros and cons, and there are some general guidelines it's probably a good idea to follow to help from tearing your cigar up in the process. Try to only remove just as little of the cap as you can to achieve the airflow that you desire. Quick tip, something I like to do, all guys may not agree with this, I like to moisten the tip of the cigar before I cut it. I would only do that if you're using your cutter. Probably the most common, the one you'll see the most, is the straight cut. Straight cuts are generally done with these guillotine style cutters. To perform a straight cut, pretty cut and dry, pun intended. You're going to want to take your cigar, you're going to place it through the cutter, line your cigar up, make sure it's 90 degrees from the cutting surface so you're getting a good straight cut. Watch where the blades are at to make sure you're only right there below that cap, still up on the shoulder so you're not overcutting, and then you're just going to snip. Just removing the very top cap of the cigar to allow air to flow through it. Now, next up, we have one that might be a little controversial. I feel like guys either love this or hate this, and that is the V-cut. V-cutting your cigar is really simple. It's got a cradle kind of backstop little area your cigar goes in. You're gonna place your cigar in said cradle and push down to cut. It's one of the things that's great about the V-cut, it's kind of hard to screw up. If you push it to the backstop, push down, you're gonna V-cut it correctly. It's my preferred method for cutting box press cigars. Now, last but certainly not least, you have your, oh shit, on this end, you have your punch cut. To do a punch cut, what you're gonna do, you're gonna just line up your punch in the center of the head of your cigar, and you're gonna slowly twist the cigar in the punch and apply gentle pressure until you penetrate. You're gonna just slowly rotate until you penetrate through the wrapper and then pull a little plug out. And what you're gonna end up with is a really nice, clean hole in the end of your cigar. One of the great things about a punch cut is that it is probably the cleanest, least amount of tobacco in your mouth way to cut a cigar.
A Figurado that has a 64 ring gauge at the foot and a 49 ring gauge at the cap with a shaggy little tail is not gonna really work well with a punch. You're definitely gonna need a guillotine cutter, so therefore you can snap off all of that you see right there, so therefore you can get a draw on a cigar and be able to smoke it. A punch is just not gonna do the job. So bigger ring gauge cigars, I have learned that it's better to punch it. And when I say bigger ring gauge cigars, anything above a 60 ring gauge, like this right here, this is the El Septimo double shot, and it's a 68 ring gauge, it's a fat little cigar, so therefore I don't have to commit so much. I can use a punch, and voila, I got my little incision cut into the cigar. I can get a draw out of it, just like that. I don't have to commit so much of my lips, so therefore I don't have to have that complete seal. So the punch and very big ring gauge cigars definitely is the win.
So I prefer the guillotine because I smoke a variety of different sizes, and a guillotine is the most versatile in terms of cutting that. I like to line up the blades. So I put the cap of the cigar in the cutter. I check to make sure it's all lined up really nicely. As you can kind of see there, I only have a tiny bit of the cap in there, and then one quick, and it's been removed. Here's how we know we did it right. We have this perfect cap.
When you use a straight cutter, you really just want to carve off the very cap. Like, part of the notion of the straight cut is you want to cut off as little as you can to simply create draw. If you look closely at the top of a cigar, there's just a little piece of leaf that's covering the top. That's really the most cappiest part of the cap, and that's really all you're trying to shave off the damn thing to get draw and still maintain the integrity of construction. A lot of guys I know will take a cutter like this one right here, a guillotine cutter with a hole in the back, place it on the table, and then just put the cigar through the table and close the cutter around the cigar thusly. So the V cut is different from the straight cut in that it cuts a literal V out of the cap of the cigar. All you do is take your cigar, place it squarely into your V cutter, and then you just give it a nice clean swipe. What you're left with is a perfect V indentation in the back of the cap